Welcome to week 3. Today I'm going to prepare a meal that you can use to help yourself or a loved one with an upset stomach. I'm going to cook 3 different dishes. I'm going to cook a pastured bone-in pork shoulder roast. I'm going to cook some root vegetables, sweet potatoes and beets, and I'm going to cook some white rice and organic chicken bone broth. All of this food I purchased organic. When I'm using food to help someone heal, then I buy organic whenever possible. The pastured pork roast I will put in this cast iron casserole dish over some peppers and onion and a touch of maple sugar. I'm also going to add some salt, some paprika, some garlic, and some oregano. The sweet potatoes and beets I'm going to roast in this cast iron skillet with the peels on. And then the white rice I'm going to make in the organic chicken bone broth that we made last week. I'm going to add a pat of grass-fed butter to the rice and then serve it with either coconut aminos or organic soy sauce. You can also add, when you're cooking the rice, some coconut oil if you would prefer that over the butter. Let's get started. To find a source for pastured meat, I use my Google Maps app to search pastured chicken. Chickens are one of the hardest meats to raise outdoors, so if you find a store or farm with pastured chicken, they are likely to have many other pastured meats as well. Avoid national stores to avoid the industrial food chain and mass-produced meat. You want your meat locally, pasture-raised, using sustainable and humane farming methods. Brown the roast on both sides over medium-high heat. This couple of inches of fat surrounding the roast will render and keep the roast from drying out while cooking. Slice your onion and place it on the bottom of the casserole dish with the fat rendered from browning the roast. Seed and slice your peppers and add them to the onions. These are mild peppers that I purchased from a local farm. The seeds of many plants are inflammatory by nature. When I'm cooking for someone struggling with digestion, I seed all of the vegetables. I don't mind if my vegetables blacken on the bottom of the casserole dish, but it does make cleanup a bit harder. If you'd like, you can add a cup of water to start and then periodically as necessary to prevent this. Put your roast on top of the vegetables and then pour over your seasoning mix. I used maple sugar that my aunt had made for me, but you can substitute coconut sugar or another sugar that you have on hand. I've got my oven preheated to 300 degrees. I'm going to cover the roast and put it in the oven for 5 hours. You can check on the roast periodically, and I added half a cup of water a couple of times while this roast cooked. I put my sweet potatoes and beets on top of the oven with the coconut oil a little while before I put them in to cook. These beets are pretty large, so it took about 2.5 hours to roast them. My rice scoop isn't quite a cup. I put 2 scoops into this fine mesh strainer, and then I rinsed it under cold water until the water ran clear. This took 1 to 2 minutes. I've got a quart of chicken bone broth simmering on the stovetop with a tablespoon of grass-fed butter in it. You can also use a tablespoon of coconut oil if you prefer. I'm going to give it a quick stir and then bring it back to a boil. Then I'll cover it and put it in the 300-degree oven with the other 2 dishes for 1 hour. I've added coconut aminos to my rice along with some black pepper. The coconut aminos are easier to digest than the soy sauce, but you can use soy sauce if you prefer. Just make sure it's organic.